I'm wearing my Private Steel, Sergeant Steel, whatever shirt in memory of my old buddy Gary Clark, who is no longer with us, and the world is a much lonelier place without him and guys like Sid Haig, Jack Ketchum, and other guys who I used to run into at conventions and had the privilege to call friends. But be that as it may, you just saw the trailer for the spaghetti western from 1967, Payment in Blood. 1967 was my first year in high school, and I fucking hated it. So I would go to lunch and disappear out the side door and go down and walk maybe 2 miles back then to the Embassy Theater on Main Street in Orange to catch a movie. And I caught this movie that I had no clue what it was, Payment in Blood. Spaghetti Western, also known as 7 Winchesters for a Massacre, released by Columbia Pictures. Well, this is sort of a reverse version of the Magnificent Seven, where you have 7 guys that are basically bad guys and all are like killers. Like one guy uses a bullwhip, one guy uses his fists, one guy uses spurs, yada yada yada. Well, they're basically still fighting the Civil War and basically killing anyone in their paths and looting towns and this and that and the other thing. But the lead is played by Ed Burns, who is a bounty hunter, who ferrets his way into Colonel Blake's renegade group. Colonel Blake is played by Guy Madison, who basically spews this line over and over again, kill them all, that type of thing. They're basically, fighting the Civil War, claiming they're fighting the Civil War, but basically they're just enriching themselves, and they're looking for this chest of gold hidden by General Beauregard in the last days of the war. And Ed Burns knows where it is and infiltrates the gang after one of them is captured, Chamaco, who was going to be executed. He gets him out of that situation and gets him back to Blake's camp, where he basically ingratiates himself with Blake's people, but is setting Blake up for a capture with one of the local sheriffs. Well, this woman gets involved with the whole thing too, claiming she's from the South and is befriending Blake and all that. Well, the whole thing sort of goes sour and there's a lot of killings, but basically the sheriff is killed. They find the sheriff dead. Blake is Burns is put in a barn and left to die in a fire. And most of the men, the posse, is drawn out of town looking for Blake's gang. Well, Blake's gang climbs up on the roofs of the buildings and basically kills everybody that comes back. Now, if you think horror films have a high body count, you can't top this fucker. I mean, there's bodies hitting the streets all the time. Except one of the guys that is shot actually lives long enough to put a bullet in the Indian member of the group and have him flying off the building, where the remaining 6 guys turn and blow this guy to pieces. The gold is hidden, or what they think is gold, is hidden in an Indian burial ground, which the remaining 6 go there. Burns gets loose, follows them there. There's a huge confrontation. Blake loses his shit when the thing's dug up, but when they open the thing, he shoots one of his own men who wants it split up, but it's not gold, it's Confederate money that's basically useless. So there's a major shootout where basically Burns wastes everybody except Blake and throws a spear into Blake, but the townspeople have gone completely berserk after the massacre and show up and basically tear Blake to pieces. Well, the woman that was involved is a partner, and the whole thing with Blake and his men comes to like $10,000, and they split it up, and at the end they ride off in their separate ways. Burns went over there and did 3 spaghetti westerns. One was, what the hell was it? Any Gun Can Play with Gilbert Roland. And a co-feature on this one, Red Blood, Yellow Gold. Basically, they were looking for another Clint Eastwood. And, Burns was a good candidate because he was in 77 Sunset Strip. Guy Madison, on the other hand, wound up going over to Europe because his stock in the States fell. He had been star of the TV show The Adventures of Wild Bill Hickok from 1951 and 1958, and also was the star of The Beast from Hollow Mountain, the first Cowboys versus Dinosaur movie, with special effects. I believe it was still Willis O'Brien and Pete Peterson that were doing the special effects. Anyway, Beast from Hollow Mountain was released on a Blu-ray and looks really great, but I digress. Madison, like a lot of other American actors that were having trouble finding work, migrated over to Europe and found work in spaghetti westerns and Italian crime films. Unfortunately, a lot of these actors were very flawed and had, personal problems that crept up to them. Burns, in an interview, said that Guy sometimes was difficult because he would show up after he'd been drinking, and basically they couldn't, use him until he sobered up. It's no big secret that Lee Van Cleef also had a drinking problem, but there's no, documented thing of him ever acting up on set. Van Heflin had gone over and done The Ruthless Four, and I believe there's a documentary out about George Hilton, which he remarks that he really felt bad for Van Heflin because where basically he could, pull off his acting during the day, he would, regress into a bottle at night, which is really sad. But unfortunately, a lot of guys had demons. Cameron Mitchell went over there also, but his demons were gambling, not booze. He was one of those invertebrate gamblers, which a lot of producers were told not to pay him in advance because he'd gambled away. Yeah, I had cut school to see this, and it basically disappeared after that. There was a lot of spaghetti westerns just coming in and out at that point, and I didn't get to see them all. But this one stuck with me because I was young, and it, for the violence involved, it, topped anything, as far as an American Western went. And it also almost topped some of the Eastwood stuff, the early Eastwood stuff. But anyway, the film disappeared. It showed up on a couple public domain VHS labels as Seven Winchesters for a Massacre and Blake's Marauders. But then my friends at Wild East put it out as a double feature with Red Blood, Yellow Gold, which is the only release as far as I know today. The sad thing is that due to the bootlegging shit and YouTube thieves and all the other stuff, Wild East is no longer in business. They folded up as of the 1st of this year, and that DVD I just sold you is on eBay for $299, which is fucking ridiculous. It's a shame my friends had to go out of business, but everybody's dealing with the same situation: piracy, theft, all this other stuff. So when you sink X amount of money into restoring films, and trust me, they did put money into restoring this because they found missing footage off of a French release and incorporated it in there with English subtitles. So it's a complete film. But like I say, it's just sad that this shit happens where companies like Wild East have to go out of business because of piracy and bootleggers. It just sucks, and I feel bad for Eric and company because they really put out a really great product and had a lot of volumes of there, but they're all going for like stupid money now, unfortunately. So yeah, so that's our little segment for today. I cut school, I see a great spaghetti western, and it's probably one of the better spaghetti westerns made. It was Enzo Castellari that put it. Very good action guy. And also he did another one, sort of another reverse Magnificent Seven with Chuck Connors called Kill Them All and Come Back Alone, which I will get into sooner or later. So until then, stay safe, God bless the Ukraine, fuck Vladimir Putin, and we'll catch you on the flip side.